welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below this video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
I know they're all the same when you come in, you hear that sound, but I know when it's you.
Wow. You know my buzzing.
So what's going on? Yeah, Nathan's doing something with his computer, so.
Oh, well, hold on. I got to get some hot tea. So keep the conversation going.
All right, I'll talk to myself for a while.
I'm still here, Neil. So hello to everyone in Discord. Righteous. This week again, Righteous? No. Yeah, I'm going to have to fiddle with that too. Clearly. Try again, Righteous? Righteous?
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Excellent.
Okay, so it's inverted. Okay.
Right. There's a bit of an echo
Bit of an echo.
from you.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is going to be a major problem. Okay, chat amongst yourselves.
Right. Well, I'm not going to chat with an echoing myself kind of thing. Okay, it's got us muted. All right, Discord, I think it's just us.
I'll have to mute Discord just till I figure out the problem. How irritating.
It's all right. Rather the silence than getting yelled at by Alwyn over on his show. Oh my goodness. What got up his butt?
Alwyn's show was good today.
Yeah, I know. I just asked him a question, like, because I was wondering what happened with Flat Earth Jedi. I haven't heard from him. And he flipped out on me. So I said, all right, Alwyn, I'll get you.
I is back.
Flat Earth Jedi will always have a special place in my heart because he took the time and patience a year ago to guide me into Discord because I couldn't figure out how to work it and speak. He took the time. And look at how the benefits come. You enjoy me every day.
Who are you talking to?
Anybody who's listening?
Oh, speaking of the air.
You're talking to the air?
Yeah, I heard somebody say, and it's not the first time, that something got lost in the ether.
What ether?
I don't know. I heard what's his name say that. The first time I heard was the guy from the movies that we always reference. Oh, jeez, what's the name of it now?
Matrix.
Yeah, The Matrix. The guy from The Matrix. I heard him mention it one time. And then the
So,
other day, another actor mentioned it.
so is the ether synonymous with air, or is it
That's what I'm thinking.
something different?
I say it's air. Other people claim that it's a medium.
Okay.
It's, like fish are in water.
Yeah.
That's their medium, and we are
And we're in,
we're in
and
air.
we're in air because there's air.
No, but that's not it. There's an ether.
What's the ether in water to the fish, and what's the ether in the air to us? What is that?
No clue.
Okay, so we got fish in water and men in air. Well, I don't see no ether.
I don't either.
I mean, you can try to figure out something else, but if you can't see it, prove it, then it's just guesswork, right?
Yeah, it's another just so story. We have enough of them.
Yeah. So,
Can you hear
Mic
me in
check.
Discord? Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, why hasn't it changed? Okay, thank you.
well, he said yes. Did you want a yes?
Trying to concentrate. Sorry, 10th. Just chat amongst yourselves, please. Sorry to be rude.
All right. Yeah, it's all right. Neil's good at chatting among himself. So go ahead, Neil. Take over.
Yeah, so 10th man, I thought yesterday's show was really good.
Oh, it was an epic show. I think we gave.
Gotta
It'll
clear
be-
the air.
Yeah, it was a clear the air show, and it was wonderful, and it's been had, and now we move forward.
Exactly.
I thought
I
it was
just
very
feel
good.
that I just feel that like new people are coming. Like you got to watch out for them ravenous wolves out there, even in this, because they discover a flat Earth. Then usually what happens is they realize there's a creator. They get saved. So you
You
hear a person
remember? Do you
that
remember? This will make sense to Americans mostly, but Vince Lombardi, the coach of the Packers, Green Bay Packers.
of
Just get
course
one more
statistics are
test
for
from
losers.
Discord. Sorry,
So-
guys in G+. Can you just try once more, Righteous?
Righteous is not on the panel. I hope this helps out.
Yes, that does.
Can you
George.
hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear us chatting away?
Right.
Yeah, guys in G+,
Yes.
please. Hold on.
Yes,
Please, can you
indeed.
hold on a second, George? Can you just be quiet in Discord, G+, just for 1 second or two? Can you hear us chatting away now clearly without feedback?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. I think I've solved the problem. Okay, sorry. Everything
All
can
right,
return
it's
back
all
to
right,
normal
no
now. Stop
problem.
being so rude. Okay, my bad. I'm going to get interrupted no matter what I do. I'll just go on mute.
No, I said okay. No, we understood.
So touchy lately, Nathan.
It's stressful. It's stressful doing this when things go wrong.
Yeah, we were just giving you affirmative that we got you to stay quiet, and once you said okay, you guys in G+, and then we start talking, and then you tell
How
us
dare
to-
you?
Hey, no. 10th. I counted Friday. It was either Thursday or Friday. Nathan snapped at me 5 times. I counted them when I re-listened to the show.
Yeah, but that's
Sometimes
payback
I don't
for
hear them live, but when I
That's
re-listen, I hear.
that's payback for old shows, so don't take it personally. Anyway,
Oh, God,
Green
getting
Bay
moaned at.
Packers.
It's going to be one of
Vince
those days, I
Lombardi,
can
no.
tell. I've had a stressful morning, so that's seen as weakness, is it? Time to have a little jab at Nathan.
We love you, Nathan. Don't worry about it. Just let me finish my story, if I may.
Yeah, sorry.
Green Bay Packers.
I'll listen to it in
Vince
the...
Lombardi.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to get to say it, am I?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I love it. This is great. Oh yeah. Green Bay Packers, Vince Lombardi. Epic videos of him holding up a football, an American football, and saying, "This is a football, men," and then going through the fundamentals each year with each new group of rookies that would come on the team. But at the same time, all the veterans were there hearing the same speech over and over and over. And when you watch the old films, the NFL films, they would say, yeah, we knew all that stuff, but man, Vince, he would just go through the fundamentals every year just so we all were on the same page and everyone would know how the playbook would work. So yesterday's show, Neil, as you said, is important because we're talking about the fundamentals of, say, if you're going to make a claim, you got to prove it. Scientific method, is it in play or not? Is it this or that? Is it an idea without any backing? Which is it? And then, of course, when it comes within the flat Earth people doing it, yesterday's show was a perfect show just to have everyone say what they had to say. If anything, it proved we weren't an echo chamber. I disagreed with Nathan and agreed with Brian, and people disagreed with us, Elijah, for a bit. But at the end of the day, we all agreed that if you can claim something, you got to prove it.
Hey, John.
Yeah, well, that's what it's all about, going over the fundamentals, right?
Yep.
Hey, John. But his famous thing was the guys would come on. I don't understand. We had 200 yards rushing, 300 yards passing. Bop, bop, bop. They'd run off everything. And he said, you know what statistics are? They're for losers. The only thing that counts is W or L, win or loss, flat or sphere. Taking pictures.
I am. I'm about to post something.
Oh, the other day I tried to get one, and we got to change your name from the King of Pun to the King of Slides.
Yeah, I appreciate the presentations recently, 10th. It's got to be said.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put something up here just to fill up well, no, we got 5 minutes here. Let's see. I could put up something at least, right? 5 minutes. Yeah, I'll just put this and I can touch on it another day if I need to. Come on. Okay, do it a bit quicker. Okay, select.
You can all hear this in Discord, yeah? Just a little paranoid.
Yes.
Good. No feedback anymore, righteous.
No.
It had
Still got
inverted
it all
the
since
ins and
I have
outs.
Right.
It had changed the ins and outs, completely swapped them around. I don't know how it still works at all when that happens, but it does. It just causes a load of feedback.
Yeah, Nathan, we got about 4 minutes, so tell me when you get him and what slide you see first.
Last, I've got the Earth and Sun in a cartoon form with parallel lines. First, I've got David Birch.
Yeah, let's go there. So this is a guy who runs a school up north in, I think, Washington or something. And he teaches people how to use the sextant, and just a real knowledgeable guy in that area. Refraction in celestial navigation, still an issue after all these years. Okay, so I'll go to the next slide. Refraction of light as it enters the atmosphere is still one of the largest uncertainties in celestial navigation. When starlight leaves the vacuum of outer space and enters the atmosphere, it bends down a small amount depending on how high the star is in the sky. This happens because the light is slowed down in the gas of the atmosphere. See refraction and sync. Thus, with our sextants, we always measure a star height that is slightly too high. A starlight from stars some 30 degrees above the horizon will bend only some 1 to 2 degrees if uncorrected, yielding an error of some 1 to 2 nautical miles. But at lower angles, the correction can be twice that or more. At higher angles, it's less, being only half a mile or so at 60 degrees and 0 by definition for stars overhead. Now, the reason I'm sharing this is because in the almanac, they have a refraction page. So again, to whoever put this almanac together and studied the stars and planets, etc., knows where they're going to be exactly over the Earth at any given moment, second, so that you can bear a reading with a sextant. And they also even tell us what the refraction corrections are. And even when it's refracted and it's the apparent position, not the actual position due to refraction, it's 2 nautical miles from your distance. I mean, I've watched enough videos that if you use the sextants and you're within a few miles, that's counted successful. And some people say even 20 miles because you can see the island or whatever landmass you're going towards in the middle of the ocean. But people are within a mile to 2 miles using the refraction tables in the almanac. But it's interesting that he says when it's directly overhead, there is none. The next page, please. Third, this is correction for refraction. As the light from the sun enters the Earth's atmosphere, it's bent downward. This has the effect of making the sun seem higher in the sky than it really is. The effect is greatest when the sun is lower on the horizon because the light has the longest layer of atmosphere to penetrate. There are special correction tables on page A3 of the Nautical Almanac for sites less than 10-degree apparent altitude when the refraction is the most influential. Many navigators don't use low altitude sites because atmospheric conditions can affect the refraction and accuracy of correction. And then the next slide, which shows at 90 degrees, there is no refraction according to the navigation books. And the lower you go, the worse it gets. But somewhere in between, you're only going to be off by a little bit. Do you have one more slide, or are we? Let's just finish here.
Got something underlined that's too small to read.
Yeah, it says the body of the observer's zenith, there is no refraction, but as the zenith distance is increased, the refraction also increases. So it's time to start the show.
Oh yes, you could then done it again slightly bigger. And then why have you got a picture of the parallel lines at the end, or is that just something?
Well, yes, this is showing that sun rays do not come in parallel, and I will take this up tomorrow or later today with the why I put this here.
Okay. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear, If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, father of a stolen child, Arwin, who's interrupting my introduction, of course, and who did I miss off? 10th Man, Arwin, Chocolate, father of a stolen child, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Morning, George. Morning, Stagolly. Bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
You can
I
only
think the
find
black
it in the
swan
math.
killed it.
Only in the math, I heard. What was that, Neil?
I think the black swan killed it. No.
Yeah. Black Swan killed the physical geometric tangent point horizon used in their geometry to claim Earth curve. That's the physical geometric sphere edge horizon. Blocks, boats, and buildings, amongst other things. Now it's refracted, which means it's not a tangent point and they can't derive R to refract it. It's a paradox. Speaking of R, any evidence of the R value? Earth radius. No sound, says Steve. Really?
Black Swan.
Hold on 1 second, we've got an issue. No sound.
It's calculated in the math.
Right, talk amongst yourselves while I double check that the stream has actually got audio, because it says it's got audio, but someone in the chat
How did they
saying
get
no.
it in the math, Alwyn?
Don't listen to Steve Finnerman.
Okay.
The sound is fine. Just
Jolly
get
good.
it.
Thank you, Arwin. I'll take your word for it. I've had a sound issue in the pre-show, so someone saying no sound does trigger me to think, yeah, there is no sound. And there is sound, says Filipino. Yeah, I think we can move on. R value,
Well, I was asking Alwyn something. How did they get it in the maths?
I just conjured it. It's abstract. Like I can create a unicorn in maths if I choose to. The language to describe things. Don't have to be things that are in existence, but you can still describe things.
Yeah, but a model of a car is a model of a car. It looks just like a car, but it's a model.
Yeah.
So how are they getting this heliocentric model if it's not? You understand what I'm saying? If Earth is not that, how are they getting this model?
Okay. Well, in that comparison, Neil, if you've got a production car that people get in and drive and physically exists, and then you compare that to a concept car that's designed in a computer that does not exist, and you say, well, all cars are this model in the computer. Well, they're not. That's a model. Okie dokie. And it. Go
I
on.
got it.
Okay. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Deviation, and we don't see that.
No, there is no 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth rotates under things not attached for us to observe Coriolis effect. There is no drift. We don't have Earth-based Coriolis effect. We'd notice.
Isn't what's spinning supposed to be a ball? Don't we need the ball first before whatever is spinning is spinning?
We do,
We
but
don't
the
have
assertion...
a ball, right? See question one.
Well, yes, that's true for the heliocentric assertion, but Coriolis effect is a real effect. You can observe it from a roundabout. Just throw a ball off a roundabout and watch how it seems to curve away from you, even though it's travelling straight. It's because you're turning underneath. That's Coriolis. So they don't need a turning sphere for Coriolis, but they assert their turning sphere has something we'll call Earth-based Coriolis.
So that show on Netflix is not correct?
What show on Netflix about what?
Beyond the Curve that claims that there's a 15 degree an hour drift proven by a flat earther himself?
If Earth was turning underneath a gyroscope at 15 degrees an hour, that implies Coriolis drift, i.e. Earth is a non-inertial turning reference frame turning beneath a gyro to cause the effect of it seeming to drift. Gyros don't drift. That's their inherent property that's useful. And their inherent property seems to be in defiance when we observe things like ring laser gyros, according to the claim on this Netflix show. But that leaves a very severe problem. if the claim, which they very much make, of Coriolis drift at 15 degrees an hour, non-inertial turning Earth underneath an inertial turning, non-inertial turning Earth underneath an inertial reference frame, then we'd see things drifting away. Not because they actually drift, but because we're turning underneath, like us turning under a ball thrown from a roundabout. It seems like the ball curves. Well, things in the air would seem like they're curving away from us. So your drone, if we had Coriolis, would go up, and then Earth would turn underneath it. It would whiz away on the equator at 1,000 miles an hour, not because we are seeing a drone that can fly at 1,000 miles an hour, but because it's claimed Earth's turning underneath it. But that doesn't happen. We're not turning underneath anything. Nothing's drifting ever.
The reason I ask is because I was talking to someone on Chatterballer, and he's telling me that a roundabout is a small scale, so you're going to see it. On a big scale like Earth, you're not going to see it. So he's actually fighting against his own claim then.
Yeah, that's called cognitive dissonance. So in terms of Coriolis effect, it's the most cognitive dissonance-laden subject in this entire arena, because upon debunking their claim that we have an observation of 15 degrees an hour drift, Neil, they're claiming we will see drift, but when we point out that we don't, they say, we don't see drift. Yeah? That's cognitive dissonance.
We never expected to.
Again,
we never expected to see drift when we said
exactly.
As a matter of fact, show me citation that my claim is that we're supposed to see the drift that the globe claims that we're supposed to see. Thanks.
It happened on Arwen's show today. It was absolutely priceless. So Arwen's talking about Earth curve, and from the chat, someone from the chat said words to the effect of, "We don't claim a Earth curve edge in geometry. I think that's actually your claim. Only flat earthers claim Earth curve edge geometry." That's literally what he told Arwen to try and resolve his cognitive dissonance. It was hysterical.
We claim geometry now.
Apparently.
Really?
Yeah, apparently Earth curve edge geometry is a flat Earth claim now. That's how bad cognitive dissonance is getting for the fundies who think the Earth's a sphere chocolate.
Hey everyone, how are things?
Very well, Brian. Good to have you.
What's up, Brian?
Hey Chocolate, hey Nathan. You know this thing about the Coriolis? You know what happened to them? Louis Foucault, his pendulum and the claims around it came out before there was helicopters and airplanes and things like that. So they could make the claim because there was nothing there for anyone to reference. But as soon as there started being things in the sky for everyone to reference, they had to change the claim. But they're still going back and claiming the pendulum, that the Earth is rotating underneath the pendulum, whereas they can't make the same claim about an airplane because it's not happening. So they're caught between the past and the present.
Yeah, good point, Brian, because prior to the airplane, the hot air balloon, the helicopters, any of that, they had a claim is the sun. And the sun is proving Coriolis, according to them. Well, fine. I mean, an airplane was designed and was in the air. All of a sudden, it's not.
Yeah, I think the Wright brothers had to actually throw out a lot of what they were told was going to happen to actually give it a go, to actually give the whole airplane thing a go. They had to actually go against what they were told was physics.
Well, like I'm saying, they're saying that we're going around the sun, and like you said, until these inventions, then they have to realize, oh my gosh, the sun's going around us and we're stationary because the airplane, that flight east to west should be shorter. It's not. Earth's not turning towards me, west to east. Come on, it's right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and now they're claiming to Nathan that Earth is rotating underneath pendulums, and balls dropped back in 1894 or 1762 or some nonsense like that. Before there was ever a hot air balloon, an airplane, anything. So it was easy to make the claim back then. But now they're still trying to claim those same stupid things from that's why they keep going back to things like the pendulum and the ball being dropped from a high tower, because that was the original claim. But now they don't have that. There's no reference point. They're outside the sun. They can't claim it, don't, because we don't see that with airplanes.
You remember the video?
The funniest thing is that as soon as they put a vehicle in the air or something like that, it would have proven their claim if it was true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
They could have came clean. Instead, they doubled down.
they wouldn't have to. They would see what they already claimed they expect to see, right?
Well, until
the
recently,
problem?
I thought it was an excellent argument, and that all of the fundies on the Globe side were so incredibly well trained because they could immediately brace against their actual claim, as frustrating as that was for me. Now I just appreciate that they're actually in a severe case of cognitive dissonance. They're holding two positions that can't both be true at the same time. You can't have the claim that Earth is turning to cause the sun to move. In other words, relative to our position, the sun is stationary in the heliocentric model. We're turning to cause it to appear to move. Well, that's Coriolis deviation. Us as a non-inertial turning reference frame, turning beneath an inertial reference frame with the sun in it, seeming to drift, not because it's actually moving, but because we're moving underneath it. That is Coriolis effect. Well, once you've got that effect established, it means that we've got a turning Earth underneath things that aren't attached anymore. And that is precisely what they claim. The moment we show them that it isn't happening with a drone or a hot air balloon or anything else that's in the air, they say, I think you, the flat earther, are the one that's claiming Earth should turn underneath. We don't claim that. It's like, yeah, you do. It just doesn't happen. Therefore, leaving you in cognitive pain because of your cognitive dissonance.
Well, they tried to blame the projectiles at first, claiming that these things are powered, which has nothing to do with it.
Well, let me remind you of the video. Remember the video of the two guys in the desert shooting the 50 caliber straight up? And then they run and hide under a table. And they're expecting, of course, if you're a glober, you say, why are you running and hiding under a table? The Earth is turning and it turns under a bullet. So just shoot it up and stand there because the Earth's going to turn under a bullet. It doesn't under a plane, though, but a bullet it should. And these guys run and hide under a table, and then you could hear the bullet land next to them.
Let's break out this nonsense diversion tactic. When they start talking about the projectile, Coriolis effect is only observable from the turning reference frame. So as you turn beneath something not attached, it seems to drift. So you're on a roundabout looking at a tree. You're spinning and the tree seems to come towards you. That's Coriolis effect. So the tree's not actually moving. And in the heliocentric model, the sun's not actually moving. It just appears to because you're turning beneath it. The tree appears to move because you're turning beneath it. The sun appears to move because it's claimed Earth is turning beneath it. Now, that effect would also be manifest in anything else that's not attached if we have the effect. So we say, okay, you ballers claim Earth turns underneath to cause this effect, Coriolis deviation. Well, we don't see that. It doesn't happen. It's not occurring. And they then challenge us to prove that they claim that they have Earth turning underneath, which is Coriolis effect. That's cognitive dissonance.
Also old and busted. Try that shit now. I actually have fun when they start saying that nonsense. Because it shows how much pain they are in. Especially when one guy wants to argue for the ball being deviated because the Earth is rotating underneath, but the same guy won't argue that the drone ain't doing the same thing. You guys need to get a grip.
Well, Zanuck seems to think Nathan's got it all wrong, that greasy car salesman. Used car salesman.
Chocolate, the argument you just said is akin to someone having a bank balance of $10,000 and then going to the bank, withdrawing the $10,000 and expecting to see the balance still at $10,000.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounds like my wife.
But they take it to the projectile. Bottom line, they take it to the projectile and start detailing the actual path of the trajectory that it's going to move through and how it's curving or not curving or accounting for curving. And that's not Coriolis because you only observe it from the ground. So as soon as they start saying, well, the hovercraft has got propellers. Oh, really? Well, Coriolis is only observed from the ground, so you're supposed to be on the ground, turning beneath it, watching it seem to drift. Nothing to do with the hovercraft's actual motion. Nothing to do with the drone's actual motion. Nothing to do with the hot air balloon's actual motion. Nothing to do with the sun's actual motion in the heliocentric model. It's claimed to be us turning beneath it that causes the effect. So for us to have the effect, we're turning beneath things not attached, and we're not. Roll on their demand for us to prove that they claim Earth turns beneath stuff, i.e. Coriolis effect, their claim. Because the cognitive pain leads them to demand we prove their claim. No, it just doesn't happen.
So wait, there's no correcting for Coriolis either? That's a fairy tale too?
No, correcting for Coriolis is a misnomer, because to say that you're correcting for Coriolis would be to suggest the following. Me on a roundabout, in a playground, I look up and see an aeroplane, and I go, oh, look, it's just turned around 180 degrees. Well, has it? It looks like it has, because I'm on a roundabout. Does the plane need to account for that? Observation from the ground of not actual deflection. That's the plane seeming to turn around, but not actually turning around, just me on a roundabout beneath it turning. That's the effect. There's no chance in hell that the plane is going to get a radio command from ground control saying, Flight 0357, you have a man beneath you on a roundabout. He's observing you seem to drift. Please, can you correct for this? No. So when it comes to Coriolis effect in terms of its actual description, which is what they claim on a globe, they will be claiming it from the ground because it's a ground-based observation. A non-inertial turning reference frame is their claim, and that's what's supposed to be proving it. You on it, spinning, seeing things seem to drift. That's the globe's claim. Well, all you got to do is show that it doesn't happen to debunk it, and as I say, roll on them demanding you prove that they claim Earth turns beneath stuff. Well, that's Coriolis. Yeah, you do claim it just doesn't happen.
Very well said.
Well, they do go crazy and say it only happens north and south.
Also, then it does happen then? Where the hell we see that shit?
Well, we don't see that either, but that's what they
Well, the reason they say it only happens north to south is because when you apply it east to west, then the effect would be that flight times would appear to be faster and slower. Because we don't see that, they've got to try and excuse that away. But if the Earth was turning, we would see that. And because we don't see it, they've got to explain it away. So they're just compensating by excuse for why it isn't there. Well, it isn't there because the Earth's not turning. If anything, it indicates it's going the other way because a lot of flights going east to west seem to be supporting the idea that the Earth's rotating the opposite way. Obviously, I'm not saying that it does that. I'm just I'm showing that it doesn't even. It seems to go directly against them.
Well, actually, can I just add to that? I feel like they make it worse for themselves. In fact, by saying that there's Coriolis north to south, or sorry, north or south, or even east or west, especially when concerning projectiles, they're idiots. Because then they would have to show at least one formula that would account for every varying degree, be it northwest, south, east, and in between. They would have to show some formula that would account for this. They cannot do so. They never have.
But what's hilarious is that claim of it would only happen north or south usually comes right after the claim of it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding?
Yeah. Go and get me a citation, says the Glober. Prove we claim Earth turns underneath stuff. That doesn't happen. It only happens if you're traveling north or south.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck?
Do you know what they say with projectiles, which is quite funny? They say that projectiles, the reason that they rotate under projectiles is because they travel at such velocities that they actually begin to negate the Earth's also spinning atmosphere. But obviously, first you would have to prove that the actual Earth itself is spinning on an axis before you could assert that the actual atmosphere itself is also spinning before the bullet itself would be able to even be affected, or should I say, defeat said rotating atmosphere. How many times do they want to lie?
Well, that's exactly what they're doing is arguing against Coriolis being an observable effect, to then claim that there's a minor effect that's an actual deflection that the bullet's going to have to compensate for. And you're only going to induce that if you're going at a certain velocity and you haven't got engines, and a certain other number of caveats. But then if I drop a ball down a tall tower, Earth will turn underneath that in 1873. You know, or if I spin a gyro, Earth will turn underneath that.
In 1873.
In 1873.
Shout out to Sam.
As I said to Nathan there, as I was saying on the show the other day, the claim they came up with, which is the most non-logical claim of all time, which is that the atmosphere, and you have to use I have to say sphere because I'm talking about their rhetoric, their atmosphere rotates with the globe Earth. That's total nonsense because, well, not just that's total nonsense, but if the atmosphere was rotating, right, somehow had a friction layer with the surface of the Earth, and it all rotated at 15 degrees an hour with the globe Earth, then a plane flying from London to, let's say London to Chicago, to be somewhat straight east-west, then that wouldn't matter because the atmosphere is going past that plane at 15 degrees an hour. So that plane would still be shorter by several hours. I mean, flying from London to Los Angeles should be 4 or 5 hours, not 11. I know, that kind of thing. But it's not. It's 11 hours. It doesn't matter what claim they make about this atmosphere rotating with the globe. That won't change it, because if you're flying east to west, you're going through this 15 degrees an hour, whatever miles per hour they want to put on it, atmosphere that's moving with the surface. So it's nonsense.
Yeah, it's also violated by the multiple directions of surface winds that we actually encounter. Multiple surface directions gives you a complete debunk of that claim, but that claim is in violation of their actual claim that Earth turns beneath stuff to cause Coriolis effect. So they're fighting against the claim of Coriolis in the first instance.
Yeah, but even with that claim,
it's
stop
like a self-okey-doke. Yeah. Sorry, but
the cognitive do-si-do.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, it's just saying, even with that claim, it doesn't change it. It wouldn't matter if you're flying east to west. That wouldn't change it because the atmosphere you're flying through is moving past you at 15 degrees an hour, and you're flying at 550 miles per hour. So it doesn't matter. The atmosphere that's connected to the Earth is moving with the Earth. You're not moving with the atmosphere. You're flying through it. So
right.
That doesn't change anything. It's only like a mind twist is all that is.
Indeed. It's something that YouTube from the chat is often keen for people to discuss. In other words, when they claim north-south, they'd still have a deflection observable, and it would still muck up the flight time. So it doesn't help them in any way, shape or form. So why not just point that out? Well, the reason I don't like to point that out is because you're into begging the question of their defence of why we don't see Coriolis effect in the first instance, to then change it into Globiolus effect, which is a claim of a label Coriolis effect with a description of angular speed change, and then transposed into linear speed changes as travelling north on a rotating sphere they've assumed won't give you Coriolis from the ground anymore. It's like you're into so much nonsense to try and work with their cognitive dissonance. It's like, why work with them? Just say, no, you claim Earth turns beneath, that's what Coriolis is. Doesn't happen. Well, no, it doesn't happen because we're travelling north. No, that's what Coriolis is. Either it happens or it doesn't. Don't explain why it doesn't. I don't care. That's your claim to prove your spin. Go on, whoever that is. Brian.
Yeah, no, just say I'm not even speaking north to south. I'm speaking east to west. Their claim wouldn't change that, but they have people believing it would. But people didn't give it any logical thought. Their claim of an atmosphere moving at 15 degrees an hour west to east wouldn't change it. The flight would still be only 4 hours from London to Los Angeles or whatever, rather than 11 hours, which is what it is. I know I understand why you wouldn't argue that point in that way, because what's the point in getting into the weeds? But that wouldn't change. It still doesn't change our claim. It doesn't matter if the atmosphere is moving. The plane is flying through the atmosphere that's moving past it at 15 degrees an hour. And the plane is flying in the opposite way at 500 miles an hour. So it's no different. If that atmosphere is moving with the ground, and the ground is moving underneath, is moving with the atmosphere is moving with the ground, and it's all going at 15 degrees an hour, then that plane is flying through atmosphere that's coming past it at 15 degrees an hour.
How many times have we had a baller on this show come make the claim of Earth's rotation? Let's take 1 hour as a marker. So they come on the show, they say Earth is spinning at 15 degrees an hour. Then they take 59 minutes and 45 seconds saying and trying to explain why we don't observe it.
And then end up asking you, can you show me a citation that that's my claim? as I've made that claim an hour ago.
Can you prove it for me?
Can you prove that my claim is true, even though it's my claim? Matter of fact, prove that my claim is my claim.
Yeah, indeed.
Because
That is the summary of cognitive dissonance in essence, though. So let's move on. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No.
I've got a really good video to show you on this. Do you want to share my screen, Nathan, please?
Sure.
So, everybody talks about how do you have gas pressure without a container? Now, let's be honest, that's the layman's word or the layman's phrase to describe it. The actual scientific phrase is the Joule-free expansion of gas. So, it's only a minute long. I'll just show you what happens. So obviously all these gas molecules are behind this divide here, and all that happens is it goes out into the empty vacuum of space. Do you notice that all these are contained within a container, right? So if Earth was on the inside there, Earth would be bouncing off, the molecules would be bouncing off the surface of the Earth. But in their model, the gas molecules are all on the outside of the container, right? Not on the inside of the container. That would be hollow earth kind of thing. But the point is, when the barrier goes across, and you'll see it now, obviously the gas expands into what we call the vacuum of space. And it's called the Joule-free expansion of gas. So when we say any evidence of gas pressure without a container, what we should say is, how does the Earth violate the Joule-free expansion of gas? Because that's what obviously would happen. All the gas would fill the available volume. Now, bear in mind, this is all on the inside of a fish tank. In their model, there is no fish tank. So if the room was the vacuum of space that this tank's in, obviously that same number of molecules would be bouncing all around the room. Well, if the room, instead of being the size that it is, if the room was the size of the infinite void of space, what do you think those molecules do? The same number of molecules go throughout the whole infinitely expanding vacuum of space. So how do we then have the pressure? And the answer, of course, is we don't. But this is just the way to refine that phraseology, the Joule-free expansion of gas. I just wanted people to be aware. It's only a minute long, and you can find it on Physics Animations. It's probably the best one I've seen because it's nice and clear. I'm done.
Indeed, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would expand in all directions to fill the availability of volume it had to fill. In other words, the gas we breathe would fill the space. And they claim the sky is a space called space. Well, gas would fill it, we'd all be dead. Space is fake. There is no sky vacuum.
2 litre bottles of pop. 2 litre bottles of soda prove that their model's wrong.
a great scholar once came here and told us that gas tends to wander off and run around. Shout out to Rumpus.
Shout out retracted.
Thank you.
Did he actually say that?
Right. Sleeping Warrior and Crack Villain, but can both of you back off your mics a bit? I'm having to fiddle with the volumes of both of you constantly. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
I said it in my songs. It's been a rap for this molten iron core.
Yeah, shout out to Paul Voigt, who promised us that there were articles that we just wouldn't understand about 3 years ago. Still waiting for them, Paul.
Better, Anthony. Thank you. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Oh, hey, I've got another presentation, Nathan.
Oh, okay.
It's only a quick one. Right, so go back to that. All right, so obviously there's an alternative proposition put forward at the moment, and it's asserted that there is an incoherent dielectric acceleration. Well, the problem with that is that we don't see it in the real world. We don't see any evidence of this incoherent dielectric acceleration. So unless we can get something to establish the claim that there is this downwards bias perception that isn't explained with relative density or isn't explained just by virtue of mass being more dense than the air it's in, then from now on, we now need to refer to the incoherent dielectric acceleration simply as incoherent diatribe. Now, I'll define incoherent in this context. It just means incomprehensible or confusing, and diatribe is a forceful and bitter attack against something. That, in this case, will be relative density. So in future, let's not call it incoherent dielectric acceleration. We'll call it incoherent diatribe until we can see some evidence of the downward bias, because it clearly doesn't exist. Things do go up. I'm done.
I've got no issue with the incoherent dielectric acceleration, Because that, as far as I can see, has been demonstrated quite admirably. It's the downward bias bit that I've got an issue with, not the incoherent
Yeah, it's the
dielectric
downward bias bit,
acceleration
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, so until we see that downward bias, we're not going to call it incoherent dielectric acceleration, because if it doesn't apply to Earth, it's essentially a solenoid. He's kind of making a solenoid with the application of like technology, using things that are useful. But if it doesn't apply real world, then it's not science, and that's the bit that we want to establish. So where is it? Can we see it?
Wait, do you not know what a solenoid is? What do you think a solenoid is?
Me.
Yeah. You said solenoid.
It's the movement. It's the movement of something with a current. It's like the bolt. They use it with bolts on doors to allow entry. So they press a button, it passes a current through, it charges a copper coil, which then passes through or around a bar, and then it repulses it into and out of its position. And essentially, that's what they're doing with the fleck of paint that jumps between the two gaps. They're passing a current, and it acts like a solenoid.
I kind of see what you're saying now. I know what a solenoid is. I just didn't really understand how you were linking it to it. Now I do. I see how you've loosely connected it. It's just not a great analogy in my opinion. But there we go. Yeah, solenoid if you say so.
I
might say something about the whole gravity and gas pressure issue. Their claim of what's holding a gas pressure or causing a gas pressure gradient and holding gas pressure to the surface of the Earth in their model is a force of gravity. But anyone who is interested in looking into it will very quickly, there's loads of videos on YouTube, loads of them, explaining the theory of general relativity and special relativity, and explaining how it's the curvature of space-time by the uneven distribution of mass that causes this effect of the curvature of space-time. And the curvature of space-time is gravity, because it gives us the appearance of apparent orbits. This is the claim. There is no force of gravity. So there is no way, with the present description of gravity, that's on its way out, by the way, with the present description of gravity from Albert Einstein since 1915, there is absolutely no way within that description that a force could be, let's just say, attracting two masses together. So there is no description. There is no actual explanation in the globe Earth model for their atmosphere being connected to the surface of their globe, or for the gas pressure gradient that is within that atmosphere. There's also no explanation for how come the astronauts that supposedly went to the moon were jumping around with 1/6 gravity, as Albert Einstein had debunked gravity as a force, decades previous. So I don't know where they're going with this. Like, they're literally not even after catching up to Einstein, and he's about to be thrown out.
Well, they've kept it alive as a force in sci-fi, haven't they? So if you take Star Wars, for instance, what's the force in Star Wars? I mean, it's literally him tied upside down when about to be attacked by a Yeti, forcing an object of mass to come to him. Or moving things, right?
Yeah, but that's mixed up. Where Star Wars came from, I just throw that in there, is that came from Japanese mythology. And the force that they're speaking about in Japanese mythology is known as ki, not to be confused with Chinese chi. Ki, Ki, is a way of spelling it in English. Ki. And it's like a force of spirit. It's like... it's where I won't go into too much about it, but it's where the idea for the Incredible Hulk came from as well. It's like somebody suddenly being able to have superpowers. Yeah, and
I get it. I get it. No, don't get me wrong, Brian. I realise that's how it's punted, and if you look up anything about Star Wars, that's how it's punted. Especially when you look at things like Darth Vader's helmet, which is shaped like one of their war helmets. Well, yeah, I get it, but I'm still drawing the same parallel. What is the force actually doing in Star Wars? Even though when you're describing ki, it's the internal force that you externalize as you punch. Well, that's not what we're talking about when we talk about him literally making that mass come towards his hand. He's attracting mass now, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but see, that's what they did. They used the Japanese ki, which is, they used that mythology, and they mixed in the word force with it you know, and caused a mass attracting mass thing going on. Like, so I'm not going against you. I'm just saying where that came from and how they mixed it in. Because the Incredible Hulk, as I say, that comes from the best way to describe Key. Just give an explanation of it. It's not about internal stuff. Like that's Chinese chi stuff. That's a different thing altogether. There was a lady back in 1978 or 74 in California, and she drove a big station wagon with her child in it through a barrier and went down an embankment. And the child was caught underneath the car, but she was thrown from the car. And the car went on fire, and the only way to save the child was to lift the car off the child. And out of desperation, the woman lifted the car up and got the child out. So that's what Key is. So it's like having like this superpowers. That's what that is. That's a true story. Whatever.
Super Saiyan, baby.
Yeah.
Did she turn green?
I don't know. It's normally introduces an element of discord where they may not get involved because we're talking about Star Wars and Key and things like that. Yeah, that has also been explained when people have had like I've seen a description of it from a rock climber, and what happened was a 2 or 3 ton boulder fell on him, and he was capable of pushing it off. In other words, his muscles in that moment instinctually drew up the energy to push this boulder off himself in that moment. And it's the same with lifting a couple of tons of car or a ton of car, the same principle. In that moment, your body says, it doesn't matter how much damage this causes to you, and it will damage you, but you're going to use every last fibre of energy that is in that muscle to do whatever is required. Of course, it fucks you up, excuse my French, good and proper afterwards.
Well, there's different definitions of it, like because it was used in war, like people who just were able to just cut through the enemy in war times, who could take out person after person after person after person. Every war has people who's done that. You know what I mean? Everyone who's been in war will know of people who've kind of done the extreme stuff that was you couldn't train for.
Oh yeah. That's another topic. I can't let that lie. Name one.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to
hold on, crack villain. You just made a claim, Brian. Go ahead. Name one. One person.
Name one what?
One person that not a second-hand story that you've heard from another man. Name one person who's that person in war who's done that.
Who's been able to take out people after person.
Yep.
Rambo.
Not fictional.
I can do it.
Non-fiction.
Well, I can. Well, there's some pretty famous war veterans out there who've done the.
Can I just name 2?
I'll put this across
because.
Okay, there's a certain group of people, and JLB is one of them. He thinks the entire story of war is a complete hoax. And when you hear people telling their stories, it's more down to their wanting to meet people's expectations rather than saying, yeah, we demolished quite a lot of stuff, we did a bit of building, we moved a few farmers around, sat around playing cards and getting drunk quite a lot. You know, whereas if you tell that heroic Rambo story, and now I'm not saying I buy this, I don't know anything about it, I'm just intrigued to know, given that Brian's obviously of the opinion that people can cut through using Key in war where they're taking down the enemy. I don't know. It might be true.
It just comes from it comes from stories of people who did. It comes from. There's different ways I could portray it. It's just that was one of the ways. Like where someone did something that was beyond the normal. It's like the best. A more basic way of explaining it is like when you out of nowhere fall by accident, let's say a slip or something, and you save yourself. You twist in the air, or you do something to save yourself. And you do it at such speed, and you save yourself from banging your head or whatever. And you do it at such speed that you could never train to be able to do that. It was just something that you just did in the moment. It's like that's what's key.
It's like when you knock a glass off the counter and you're fast enough to catch it midair. Do that shit all the time.
The reactionary speed.
What you're saying is...
Speed. Can I just mention a couple names just to save him a little bit then? So you're talking about people such as Simo or Sumana Haya, right? And man, he was known for sort of... He used the KP-31 a lot, but he was a sniper, right? He killed roughly over 500 men, okay? In the World War, right? He was a Finnish sniper. Anyway,
I know the guy you're on about.
Michael Whitman.
But that is kind of it, but it's not really, because I'm talking about
The
more
white
about, like, someone who just went past what they should have been able to do. Like that lady, it wasn't just her muscles that
berserker
lifted that
spirit.
car. You know,
Sure.
Berserker
I think
spirit is what you're talking about.
I appreciate what you're trying to do, Crackvillain, but that's my aside from Brian's point that in certain circumstances you can go above and beyond what you might be physically capable of. That's described as key. I've forgotten why we were talking about key in the first instance, though, Brian. Maybe you can get us back on track.
Force of gravity and Star Wars.
Star Wars, the Force. Of course, it's me thinking, how can I generate a bit more discussion amongst people who might be a little timid? Well, if we talk about Star Wars, normally people are pretty much comfortable with that, right? Talk about the concept of non-inertial turning reference frames underneath inertial reference frames to cause not actual deflection observed from the ground, and that might intimidate them. But Star Wars, yeah, man, people will get involved, won't they? Moving on. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Or incoherent dielectric acceleration theorists.
Is there an experiment, or at least a hypothesis to go with it? And are they astronomers, cosmologists, or astrophysicists?
Or incoherent dielectric accelerationists.
How about just observe and declare?
Adam. We're on to
guys.
viable hypotheses. Just so you know where we're at.
No.
I need a demonstration of that, please.
You need to prove that that's your claim.
They claim science.
In fact,
proves
you need
it.
to.
You need a demonstration of how there is no hypothesis from these claimed pseudoscience.
Actually, Neil, you need to prove that it's chocolate's claim.
Back off your mic a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
It's all right.
This dielectric acceleration, first of all, the incoherent, that's the funny part of it. The incoherent.
I love the word incoherent.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Sorry.
It is.
I'm just getting it straight.
Hold
on. I want to clear this up. Are there people on the panel that deny this electrostatic effect?
No.
Who said
Neil?
we do?
Hold on.
We can
Neil.
rub a balloon and stick it to a wall. But that
you
doesn't
said yes.
mean-
I get you. Okay, you don't deny. Neil, what are you? Are you
I
of
don't
the
deny
opinion that
it.
this effect doesn't exist?
I never said that. What they're claiming it doesn't exist.
Which is what?
Gravity.
Downward bias.
Downward bias.
Oh,
I want to see it, please.
AKA
There's
gravity.
a helium balloon in my room, and it's up in the air for days now.
Okay, I'll put the kettle on.
I'll get my balloon.
I'll add a bit of salt to my water and make my egg go up.
Okay, we're all
Exactly.
clear.
That's our demonstration that it's not what they claim it is. So if they're going to keep on claiming it, then they better have some sort of answer for the balloon and the kettle and everything else that goes up.
And my egg. Don't forget my egg.
More
Of
like
course,
it.
the egg. That's
Yeah,
experiment.
this is much more like it.
With your egg, Anthony, the argument's over easy.
that's the best one so far. That's excellent.
That was good.
Excellent. No? Okay, moving on.
Excellent.
Good one, Nathan. Good one, Nathan.
You sure made them toast.
No, that was good, Nathan.
But this is
everyone
much
got
better than
scrambled
the-
when you said it.
This is better than the shit show yesterday where we were discussing personal attributes to this argument, which is over in 30 seconds, let's be honest, right? And that's really all the only sort of effort we need to put in. What's the argument? Well, the argument's as a downward bias. In chat, I'd put a little arrow to myself and write, turns on kettle. That would be the end of the argument. Watch your steam go up.
Well, that's
That's
what
all.
was out yesterday anyway, but we'll let it go.
A little bit of salt to the medium.
The only... Sorry, Nathan, I'll go after it.
No, I'm agreeing. I'm saying this is much more like it yesterday. All I wanted to do, and Chocolate wanted to do, and Eli wanted to do, was go, Chocolate's like, yeah, I'm walking around with a helium balloon right now. Because that's the only bit that matters.
Well, it's the only argument really from us to them is the cause and effect argument. They have been asserting, up to now, they have been asserting that this causes things to go down. But also, they have been kind of even though they've claimed that they were biased, they've also been kind of claiming, if you look into it, a bit of an upward vector too. So it's the cause and effect is where I'm at with it. It's like, just, okay, we have the effect, we have the DV. What's the cause? You know what I mean? So
I'm glad Adam's here, because I sat on... tell that I'm not comfortable with this subject, because I sat in on the conversations between Quantum Eraser, Dr. John D, and Adam, and followed along for the most part, but kept pretty quiet. You know, when you don't know, you just keep your mouth shut and listen, which is what I did. And the end conclusion of about a week's worth of discussions between three much more intelligent people than myself was that it's a second-order effect of entropy. In other words, to ascertain the cause of this is to say what's the cause of things changing over time. Well, you're never going to get to that.
Not with the kit we've got at the moment.
Well put, Adam. It's not to say that somebody in time might figure out the cause of entropy. I don't want to be so bold to say it's not possible. QE has said that, and more power to him. I don't feel comfortable making that statement with my limited knowledge of the second law of thermodynamics. So, yeah, someone might figure out the cause of entropy. I've got to be honest, though, I doubt it. I don't know if Adam feels the same, given that disclaimer.
I wouldn't put any money on it.
Exactly.
I couldn't preclude it.
Exactly. I wouldn't put any money on it either. That's the best way to put it.
Well, it's a creative.
I'd put money on it.
You'd put money on what? Just be specific, Q.
I'd put money on you never finding out.
That's what. That's what I thought. Yeah, you would emphatically say no one's going to figure the cause of entropy. I don't think I'd be so emphatic. I know you are.
I have the answer.
You've got the cause of entropy.
You won't.
Hold on, Nobel Prize.
No, you won't. No, it ain't Nobel Prize. You won't. You're asking the wrong question. That's the whole problem. You're in a category error.
Oh, okay. What do you mean we're in a category area? Okay.
You're in a category area.
Yeah,
What is question? You'll never figure out the cause.
Can't be science.
Well, I won't say never. You can ask him when you bow before him.
Well, that's what's going to be my answer.
Oh, you were going to say God?
Ready to say.
Hold on, let's hear it, Brian. Go ahead, Brian. What were you going to say?
But that was my answer. Is that this place is created. We are created. The cause of creation and the cause of entropy, by proxy, is the creator.
Yeah, that's correct.
Creator
The start
is the
of where does the change begin? The start of change over time, in the beginning, right? Well, double slit, quantum eraser, whichever experiment you like, is proving that you need knowledge. You need a knower at the start of that process. So where does the beginning of the change over time begin? God.
Exactly.
Look at the ontological primitives if you want to know more. Do we have all the housekeeping questions? I can't think of any that we didn't cover. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What is the sun?
Don't know. Next
Distance,
question.
Anthony.
I give my Neil deGrasse Tyson response. Don't know. Next question. Of course, that's in regards to gravity for him.
Hey, that was my intro.
Well, what's the other one? We don't know.
Magic speed.
Magic speed. The magic speed thing's come up several times in the last week or so. So I think it was you that brought it up first, Chocolate, right? With the trajectory that an asteroid would have to take to make the craters on the moon. Do you want to just run his comments or Neil deGrasse Tyson's comments back past us?
Turns out there is a magic speed.
That's Creation Bear. Thank you very much. It turns out there's a magic speed.
It's the way he says it, like he's talking to a 5th grade class. Like, wow, guys, there's a magic speed. It's insane.
But isn't that though the programming where they have somebody who speaks to them as if it's somebody who's on television on Sesame Street speaking to children, because that is what people crave. They crave that kind of to be taught. They crave to be spoke to like that by someone on TV, but not somebody in real life.
Is Sesame Street? Is Sesame Street still going?
Because the guy he's talking to just says, "Wow, yeah, that's got to be it."
If Sesame Street's still going, I'm willing to bet £1 that Neil deGrasse Tyson's been on it at some stage. Is it still a show?
You know?
What
Yes,
Cosmo?
Neil deGrasse. Yes, he has, and yes, it's still a show.
Boom! I absolutely knew it. So he has been on Sesame Street. I knew it.
Hey, Nathan, since we're on the sun, can you go back to that last slide I showed you of the sun coming in with parallel rays? And then I've got 2 short videos. Just turn the volume down of the sun in actuality.
Sure, it's on screen with your description in cartoon form of parallel rays.
Okay, so they say the sun's rays are coming in parallel. Now just go through these 2 videos and you're going to see something that's going to blow that whole thing away, because you see crepuscular rays, and as the sun is setting or rising, what should the light source do if it's coming in parallel rays? Should it follow a local sun that seems to be going away, or should the whole horizon at one time have the same glow as it goes away?
Interesting. That's an interesting question.
But watch the video. It's obviously crepuscular, comes in at angles, not parallel. It shows it right there. And then as it sets, the sun, the local sun, not their 93 million mile sun, if rays were coming parallel, the whole horizon should have that same sun effect of going down from side to side, and it doesn't. It's getting darker and darker.
How has he got this shot?
How do we observe this in the Discord?
Again, Crackvillain?
How is it we observe this from within inside of the Discord, guys?
Oh, you just have to go to the live stream.
I'll post it for you. Give me
Sure.
a second.
Yeah, or you can go to the live stream if you're capable. I'm going to share this guy's link. This imagery is absolutely sensational. Where did you find this?
Just I typed in, time-lapse sun, and there's more than this. These are just beautiful ones, though.
Absolutely. I'm going to play it again. I don't get struck by the guy. But my God, my friend. How do you say his name? Julien?
Yeah, I'm not looking at it right now.
I'll share this link in the live stream chat, but check out this guy's videos. I hope he's got more of the same, because it's glorious. Taken 4 years ago.
Julian Signal. Seignol. Julian Signal. Julien Seignol.
Well, the whole purpose of this video and me showing the graphic of the way they say the sun has to come in parallel rays for them, and it doesn't. So it's the end of the globe model from so many angles, pun intended. The sextant cannot work on a curved surface, period. So where are they getting their readings from? Always from the center of the Earth, which is really a circle with a radius. And so what the sextant is doing is actually working using the sun as it actually is, getting the angles. But they transpose that as to the center of the Earth every time. But if you say the reading is from the center of the Earth, then the sun rays must come in parallel because of the curved surface. And since these videos prove otherwise, bye-bye globe.
Yeah, yeah. Those videos are like tantamount to like a black swan almost. In essence, if you can just
It
show one
validates.
instance like that video, then therefore parallel rays are instantly debunked. Obviously.
Huey's on the show, when he brought up the black swan, that's the same time he and I talked about the sextant. So the sextant
Breaking up 10th. It's actually me. I lost my internet connection for a second there.
Is that why the show was spinning?
Yeah, I think that if you got a Whirly Whirl live, that's why. There we go. Everything's back to normal, hopefully.
Woo!
There we go. Somebody sent me Adam. Thank you for sending me NDT the Muppets. That's his job, to indoctrinate children with the nonsense.
How many Muppets do you count?
4. Excellent. Thank you for digging that out. But yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Get them while they're young. Teach them the Earth's a spinning sphere flying through a vacuum. Say science.
Right. The indoctrination has to start then, because when they come out of the school.
Oh, am I losing my internet connection? Is this going to be my opportunity to round out live? It is. I'm going to have to wait till the Whirly Whirl comes back and the internet comes back, because this is still in the that internet issues. Wonderful.
And I'll give you the adult. Well, we were all at the mercy of the state education being indoctrinated by heliocentric nonsense. No wonder that the Earth, most people thinks that the Earth that they're on is orbiting the sun and all that nonsense, because we all got indoctrinated.
Perfect. I've got my connection back, hopefully long enough to actually do an outro. The last words before I round out and ask everyone to stay tuned. Recording will be unaffected.
Incoherent dielectric acceleration is to be referred to in future as incoherent diatribe until we can see some evidence that it applies to Earth.
Perfect. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Primary streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
All the easy fun was classic.
Just saying.
Yeah, but Nathan came back with the excellent one, and hardly anyone got that one.
Oh,
I got it.
Been a stressful show from the moment that this has started.
Yeah.
Before the pre-show even began, this has been stressful. All the connections.
So you were.
it's all
So
gone
you're
wrong.
saying you were scrambled throughout the show?
Yeah, I was scrambled. Whenever you have a Windows update, it seems to reset all the desk settings and the Discord settings.
Yeah, it was a massive Windows update, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's ballsed up everything and caused my stressful show to be more stressful than normal.
Is there no way to save a preset?
Yeah, do you not think I've done that?
Then?
Obviously, yes.
You can turn them off. The updates.
I don't want to do that.
No, you don't want to do that, no.
Well, you can install them on your own
I
time
think
instead of
things
automatically.
stop working when that happens, and all you're doing is delaying the inevitable.
Exactly. I did install it on my own time. I installed it last night on my leisure. It was great. Worked really well. It's butter. Until the following day when you do a show and everything balls up because of it.
Yeah, you always get caught out doing it that way. Okay, I get you.
The worst thing to do is right before a show is do a Windows update. You wouldn't want to do that. So yes, I would delay it if it came up this morning. But you just know as soon as you're doing it, like, what hassle is this going to cause? So knowing that full well, I started well early this morning. I started bang on 1 o'clock. so I could start fiddling, and immediately there was issues. So I had to start anyway. I started before I'd fixed them all. I thought I'm normally quite good under pressure, so I thought if I just start the show, regardless of any issues, then while it's recording, I'll just tell all the panel off, be stroppy, and get it fixed, which is what I did.
This is analogous to, not wearing a condom. Feels like a good idea at the time, isn't later on.
That would be true. It'd be true if it was live, but I only did it in the pre-show. So fortunately, Righteous was very accommodating and kept talking when needing and not when he didn't. And I managed to get Discord without echo and feedback and all that crap.
Yesterday's show was really particularly good, I listened back to it. I don't often listen back to shows again, but I listened back to it yesterday. It was very, very good.
It was a particularly Nathan Light show, so I wasn't a big fan.
Particularly Nathan Light show.
I can't even remember what we were discussing. What were we discussing on yesterday's show to make it so wonderful, Anthony? Oh, I do remember incoherent dielectric acceleration.
Incoherence.
Yeah, the incoherent psychobabble.
Yeah, but we were talking about the personal bits of it. 90% of it was about individuals, their potential world domination, and all sorts of other crap. Whereas, that 10% this show, when we did cover it, was only the 10%. In other words, 90% of when we were covering incoherent dielectric acceleration was about how we don't have a downward bias. In other words, debunking the original assertion prior to getting into their claim of cause and effect to explain this thing that doesn't happen. That's all we focused on in this show, and it was dealt with within 3 minutes.
I think the best thing from yesterday's show, other than the subject, was that this show, we're not an echo chamber here. But at the end, we all resolved without going against the downward bias, because, we're all still saying, where is it? But in between, we all had our own opinions. Unlike other shows where only one opinion counts.
Yeah.
I quite like the idea of it
points
being named incoherent dimethyl trypto acceleration.
What
I
the
don't think
hell?
there's any need to relabel.
Yeah, you might not understand it.
These forces within static electricity. I just don't think there's no need to ridicule it. In fact, I said this yesterday, in many ways, you should be praising it and saying, great, you're obviously on a journey of discovery. Be interesting to see what you find at the end of it. In the meantime, I'm sorry, but there isn't a downward
Yeah, but
bias.
they're not waiting. They're not waiting to the end of it to make a claim, are they?
Yeah. They're not waiting
My
to the end,
problem
no.
with the whole thing is when someone's asked, why do things fall down? It's gravity. And then when the response is, it's not gravity, it's incoherent dielectric acceleration, downward bias, whatever the hell. Okay. So what's gravity again? Is gravity
now
a
you're
thing?
guilty of
Before
the
you
former.
replace the name of the thing that's not actually a thing into something else? Are you kidding? How do you square that off? Especially the same people that are arguing against gravity. Now you've given the thing that you've been arguing against another name. What?
I'm saying, why are we
I think
not
there's
just
a
saying things that
misconception
happen?
when you guys talk about gravity and the fact that it's not actually a force.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, we know.
Even by the people that tell us that it's a thing, tell us it's not a force. So why are the people that have argued that it's not a force now accept that it's something else doing something
Do you
else?
understand the?
Get out of here with
Do you
that
understand the difference between point source versus non-point source?
No,
Are you
please
coming
tell
in
me
low,
what
die
that's
slow?
supposed to be.
Hold on, dude. Who is it that's speaking? Die show? Die slow? Point source, non-point source. Does this prove that there is actually a downward bias in either way?
Yeah, it's not actually traveling downward. It's traveling away from space. You guys kind of looking at it from a different angle.
Would you give us a little bit more on that, please?
Yeah,
how
indeed,
how
Brian.
is this connected to relativity?
Don't worry about
Wait there.
Hold on. Don't worry about relativity. I don't think the guy's fighting for a globe Earth. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dicelo. You're not actually fighting this from a globe Earth gravity perspective, are you?
No way, man.
Didn't
It's
think
flat.
so. Just feel free.
Good.
Take your time. I'll stop anyone from interrupting. You can just expand on what you're trying to explain to us, because I'm not following along, and I don't think Brian is either, and that's what he's asking.
Well, my original question when you guys were talking about parallel sun rays versus angular sun rays, I wanted to ask a question pertaining to that. And do we ever observe anything in nature traveling in a straight line? And if we do we ever notice two of those lines traveling parallel? Because I don't think that's an observed phenomena from my perspective.
Question. What do we observe actually parallel or plumb, whichever you prefer, in nature?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see
got
lines traveling
something.
parallel. I see everything converging at an apex. Nature doesn't make straight lines, it uses curvilinear. So when you guys invoke straight lines coming off the sun from a globe perspective, it's just a pure fallacy.
I agree. The straight lines from the sun is a pure fallacy.
Well, that's
because
good,
we see divergent rays.
Okay,
What about
excellent.
this
Hold on.
points thing, though?
Hold on 1 second. Excellent, because obviously you've now got us all on your side, which is wonderful. Great. But what about this incoherent dielectric acceleration and point sources, you said? What was that? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's a difference between point source versus non-point source. It's the same thing when you look at a 5-watt light bulb versus a 5-watt laser beam. One will burn a hole in your ass, and the other one you could barely read a book next to. So what's the difference if they're both 5 watts?
Yeah, the concentration, the focus. Okay, but how does this relate to downward bias?
So that's the difference between magnetism and gravity, and the fact that magnetism is point source versus gravity being non-point source.
So what is
What's
gravity?
gravity again?
Hold on. What is gravity then?
Well, you guys had it right when I don't know where you got those words from, but when you were calling it incoherent dielectric mutual mass acceleration, that's precisely what it is.
So why call it gravity? Okay,
That's
guys,
precisely what is.
hello. So
Yes.
why hello? So why relabel it gravity then? I don't understand why that's been done.
I never called it gravity. I'm just saying gravity's not a force like they try to assume.
Okay, so if you're not calling it gravity and you're just describing an incoherent dielectric accelerative force, what does this have to do with the nature of Earth in any way, shape, or form, other than it being an interesting folly?
Because mass doesn't attract mass like they try to invoke the thought of. Mass actually attracts towards the lowest null pressure point. So when they try to tell you things are attracting to other things, it's a complete fallacy.
Yeah,
And furthermore,
So in your opinion, it would be wrong to call. My bad. In your opinion, it would be wrong then to call incoherent dielectric acceleration.
Neither are going to yield to each other. Clearly, one of you's got to yield to each other, or we can't hear either of you.
Chocolate.
I'm just trying to clear it up because dude wanted to address me. So you would say that it would not be coherent to call incoherent dielectric acceleration gravity, right?
Yeah, the difference between so-called gravity and so-called magnetic attraction is that in the case of magnets, they are multiplicative point source objects accelerating. So the intensity is many magnitudes greater than that of common objects accelerating towards the null point in counter space. So mere mass of the conventional kind are point specific or incoherent objects.
Okay.
Okay.
Can't
we just call it the hoodly devil
Hello.
instead of gravity?
Hello. Just got one more question for you. Okay. If I'm to say the force described 106 years ago, labelled Newtonian gravity, mass attracting mass, is not the explosive force, and then I describe the explosive force in great detail, is it useful that I juxtapose gravity with the explosive force in the same way you're juxtaposing it with an incoherent dielectric acceleration. What's the use of comparing it other than to say it isn't that? It's also not a number of other things. So why is it useful to juxtapose the two?
Well, when you pre-assume that mass is attracting mass, you fall into this fallacy of this warped space-time, which superficially explains this phenomena. However, it's not entirely accurate.
What's the phenomena?
But mass attracting. Sorry,
hold on. Which phenomena? Mass
When you
attracting
look at-
mass. Hold on.
Yeah, when you look at two objects like in space per se, and they're coming together, they spin around each other for quite some time before they ever actually meet. And the reason is because they're in a conjugate vortex. Mass isn't actually attracting towards mass, i.e. from A to B. It's curved linear. So this is the reason why we see that take place.
See what take place? What are we watching take place again?
We see things spinning around each other. We don't see them actually coming together. They spin around each other for quite some time before they actually ever meet.
Where do we observe this?
Like I said, in space, two like celestial bodies meeting.
Space?
What?
I don't know where he's gone. But
I don't know.
I can lead him. It's okay, guys. I can lead him fine. Yeah, what do you mean when you say in space?
Yeah, so when we observe phenomena taking place in space, and we see two stars coming together, they never actually collide straight together. They'll come together and spin around for a long time before they ever meet and touch.
When is this being observed? Who's observing this?
Astrophysicists. I mean, I'm not physically seeing it. I'm not in space, but nevertheless, that's what's noticeably observed when they talk about it. So
okay, so just see if I'm incorrect in my summary. Just wait till the end and tell me why. From what I glean, you're saying that the force of mass attracting mass, which is not bending space-time, fourth dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time, is actually, when describing the phenomena of lights in the sky twirling around each other and meeting each other, something that I can't ever say I've observed, but maybe you'll give me an example, is explained by incoherent dielectric acceleration. So the phenomena, the effect, is these lights in the sky, and the cause is incoherent dielectric acceleration. Is that correct as a summary?
well, you're kind of getting things a little confused. Like gravity is what you call the incoherent dielectric mutual mass acceleration.
No, it isn't.
And light.
No, it isn't. Stop. Stop. No, that is not what gravity is. So no, let's not worry about what gravity is. That's something else. I'm asking you if your phenomena is lights in the sky twirling around each other, something I've never observed, and your cause of that effect I've never observed is incoherent dielectric acceleration. Is that the case or not? Don't worry about gravity, because this isn't that.
Are you talking about orbit? Yeah. If you're talking about orbit, sure. You're explaining geomagnetic precession.
No, I'm not describing.
That's
Stop.
essentially.
No, I'm not describing
What the
anything.
hell?
I'm summarizing what you're describing and trying to gain clarity on your description. This isn't my claim, it's yours. I'm trying to gain clarity on your claim and what you're saying. So if you're saying orbits, you need to clarify what you're saying about your claim of the effect that's being studied and the claim of the cause incoherent dielectric acceleration. So, third time. Is the claim phenomena lights in the sky twirling around, aka orbits, which is a begging the question fallacy? Don't know if you realise that. And that claim cause of orbits, I beg in the question fallacy, is incoherent dielectric acceleration. Is that the cause and effect relationship we're talking about?
Man, that was like a loaded question. I don't even know like what you're asking me at that point.
Okay. What's the phenomena being studied? What's the claim cause of its effect? Simple.
Well, orbit and gravity are two separate things, man. Like space is a divergent magnetic field, okay? And I told you what my perception of gravity was. When you're talking about orbit, that's geomagnetic precession. That's entirely separate phenomena. It has to do with magnetism, not gravity.
Why are we going off into the weeds? I just need to know.
It's all this bullshit.
Guys, I don't need help, Arwin, thank you. Just need to know what you're claiming we're studying. Is it quote-unquote orbits or not? Is that the phenomena?
No, I'm not talking about the when stars come together and collide. All right, that's not an orbit. That's breaking the orbit. So those are two separate things, man.
I don't
Orbit and
care.
stars colliding.
My
are two
friend,
separate
I
things.
don't care. I just want you to tell me what's being studied. This is your claim. I don't know or care, nor am I claiming it is or isn't orbits. I'm using the words that have come out of your mouth and trying to get you to tie yourself down to the words you've already used, and you seem hesitant to tie yourself to your own words at this stage. It's getting frustrating. Just tell me what's being studied.
Man. Yeah, never mind, man. Just forget whatever I said.
Why? You're here to claim incoherent dielectric acceleration. I'm trying to establish what that is in relation to the debate about the nature of the reality we experience. If you're saying it's about lights in the sky, or orbits, or lights moving towards each other, those are the things you've given me. You just need to say, yeah, the words I've used already were the thing I mean. If they're not, then what? Number one, why did you say them? And if they are, you just need to say, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I'm all confused right now. So yeah, sure.
Dude, you're
that's right,
winding
man.
me up. You're winding me up, and
I'm not trying to, man. I apologize, man. Just forget I said anything, bro.
No, I don't
bad.
want to forget, and I don't want to berate you either. You seem like a nice guy, but if it's reached the point where you're like, I don't really understand what I'm claiming, just disclaim that. Don't duck out. Just say, yeah, based on my current knowledge of this understanding of this incoherent dielectric acceleration as an explanation for lights twirling around in the sky or orbits, whichever you haven't clarified, I don't really understand how the claim works or what I'm claiming, because that's how it seems, but you're like, no, I'm going to run away. And no, just say, no, I don't really get it. It doesn't really make any sense. And we'll all nod and go, yes, that's right. It doesn't really make any sense, as you're detecting as I'm going through it with you.
Yeah, I was just talking about gravity in itself and explaining the reason why every brand of current science is self-confused to be utterly perplexed by what gravity is. And it's because they're atomists looking for answers in all the wrong places. And they've reified insane notions of warp space-time to superficially explain things.
Philosophy.
Well,
we don't want to hear the philosophy behind it, and it's pseudoscientists, not scientists. Get that right.
Yeah.
Word salad.
Definitely pseudo.
But the problem is, there's enough information out there for you to come and punt this as somehow a substitution for gravity. Again, I'm not having a massive go at you at this stage, but based on what's happened, the limited knowledge, wherever you may have got it from, has failed you badly. Can you recognise that?
Well, when you guys invoke a force, gravity being a force,
we're not doing anything. Stop.
Of what?
Stop. You're going to annoy me really fast, right? This isn't our claim. Let's just get that clear, because that will piss me off royally. When I claim, no, mate, no claim from me here, just you. So let's get that straight. Okay. Just let's get that straight. We're detailing what you've claimed, so don't say when you claim and then detail something you've just claimed and we've pulled apart for it having no logical conclusion, no observed phenomena to study, no reasonable hypothesis for the cause of that effect, no connection to the current assertion of gravity and bending space-time, certainly no connection to that when it's a distant relative that's not connected, superseded 106 years ago when you talk about mass attracting mass. Now, I can concisely summarise this stuff because I do understand it, but you're here defending it like it's a reasonable position to defend. And I'm saying it isn't, and based on your limited knowledge of this subject, which is nonsensical, you've come here to defend it and failed.
Fair enough. So what do I call gravity then, man? Can you enlighten me?
Gravity is currently defined as the uneven distribution of mass causing the bending of pseudo-Riemannian force space, otherwise known as spacetime. That is what gravity currently is. It definitely is not incoherent dielectric acceleration.
All right, man. Well, thanks for clearing that up.
My pleasure.
Oh, this is why Sleeping has just said what he has said previously, due to this very thing that has just happened.
I think he thinks that we think. I think he thinks that we think that gravity's a force.
Yeah, I think because when he chimed in, he must have thought that I was saying that gravity is actually incoherent dielectric acceleration. Nah, bro. Definitely wasn't doing that. Gravity is not even a thing.
Well, this may or may not be what happened, but I'm just gonna say this is why Everything is as it should be. Want to stay in the echo chambers and talk about certain things, that's great. But when they come outside, they can't shoot ball anymore. That's all I got to say.
They get rocked. Yep. Word up.
But if it had no associated link to, if it wasn't being associated to the claim of either bending space-time or mass attracting mass by way of the single word gravity, then I would be all for this, man. Go and explore incoherent dielectric acceleration and see how it affects my life. Because I'd be interested. Genuinely.
I think the problem is that there was a lot of words used, but I'm not really sure if that lad that was talking, if he actually knows the correct description of the present description of gravity. I don't know. I could be wrong about that for a start. And we certainly don't claim gravity. I don't know exactly what claim was being made. I'm not 100% clear on that. What effect
there wasn't
we
one.
observed? The effect we observed was something that astrophysicists supposedly observe. We don't observe these things.
Did you notice that he said when you guys claim gravity is a force? That was the clue that tells me that he thinks that we think Newtonian gravity is a thing.
That's why he chimed in when he did.
So we're saying there's a difficulty to tie down what is actually being claimed in this particular instance. Yeah. That sounds familiar. Yeah. What's that? What are you actually selling me, salesman? Well, look at the shirt. look at the waistcoat.
Dude, I'm really struggling not to laugh. Can you just assert what it is? You spoke about a phenomena. What phenomena are we observing, for one? You spoke about stars coalescing together and in some form. Who's observing this? That's all I would like to know. I would like to know at least that part. Who is it that is observing stars forming or coalescing or colliding together? Who observed this? Where was it stated? Can you clarify?
He said
spinning around
astrophysicists.
first.
He clarified. He did clarify. He said astrophysicists.
That's what struck me, Nathan. The fundamental of the claim requires an acceptance of the heliocentric model to very anecdotally demonstrate the effects. But it's working, by the sounds of it, over millions and billions of miles and gigantic stars, and still within the same presupposition that the lights in the skies are burning balls of gas.
And then was given an actual cause that it was magnetism or something, as opposed to it's not gravity, it's actually how do we who's seeing it? Like Crack said, who the hell's seeing it, and how the hell do we know what's going on?
But you need to ask the person
that's all I wanted
to
to know.
Whoever's punting.
You can't assert the cause when you don't know what the things are.
Okay. Die slow. What astrophysicists were you referring to that had actually observed said observation? Just to clear that up for us, please. And then you are not staking a claim. All you're simply doing is providing said person who has said they have observed said thing you said was observed. Please, at least.
All right, yeah, I guess give me a minute. I'll go see what I can find for you.
Perfect. While he's doing
Thank you.
Whoever's punting this, that's the person that needs to be asked. You know, the person that's making this a thing is the person that needs to be asked. You know, there's obviously a source of this information. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're going to come here and claim it like Dicelo has, he's going to be taken through the process he's been taken through, which he has been now. But further to that, it's like, well, he's come here with this information secondhand. Now, I don't know who he's getting it from, and I'm not even inclined to ask. But, you know, that's the person that needs to be asked. Tell me what you're actually selling, like I've just done with that guy. What is it we're actually observing? What are we trying to explain? What's the effect we're first observing that we need to explain in the first instance? Is it actually effect? Where do we observe it? Those are the questions that need to be asked, so you can get to the bottom of this pile of bullshit.
That was Ken Whelan's preaching.
Where do you want me to post it? Live stream?
Yes,
Text
please.
chat?
Yes, please. If you can post it in the Discord live stream, yes, please.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, Dicelo, nobody has a problem with what you're talking about whatsoever. It's just that we would like to know what you're talking about. That's all.
Indeed. But where have you got
I
these?
have a problem
Well, if
with
there's
it.
anything I
Just
can
a
do to
quick
try
yes,
to help
no.
clarify
Do you think that
anything
we
I
think
said,
that
then
gravity's a force?
Hold on, Sleeping Warrior.
No, that's not the
Repeat yourself,
question.
Dicelo, and then Sleeping Warrior's got a question for you. Go ahead.
I put it
Do
in
you
ball
think that
buckers.
we think that gravity's a force?
Well, I kind of did at first, but after you guys clarified that, I'm happy to know you don't think it's a force.
What? You were under
I had
the
a feeling.
How have you come to that misapprehension?
I had a feeling. I had a feeling what it was is that he heard me talking and might have somehow mistaken what I was saying, that we are claiming gravity is a force, and maybe that's what incoherent acceleration is. Like, nah, bro. You had that all jumbled
Chocolate, I
up.
don't believe that was the case. Chocolate, I don't believe that was the case because he came in here with this piece of information and it seemed to be quite well stitched together what he was saying. And I don't believe he just simply come off the cuff with what he said based on a few words that you spoke. I know what you're
How the hell
talking
did he
about.
get that idea?
That's
that
what I'm
we think
asking. That's
gravity
what I'm
is a
trying to get in.
force?
That's what I'm trying to ask. Where's this coming from?
You asking me that, Nathan?
Yeah. Where have you got these ideas from?
You guys brought up the whole lingo, so I heard it and decided I would say something about it since you guys were talking about it and didn't seem to be. You guys seem kind of perplexed about the words being
Is this
used
your
to
first
describe
time on the
gravity.
show?
Are you saying
Is this your first time here?
Of your own volition?
Nah, man, this is my first time rapping with Nathan and maybe you guys, but I come in the after show and talk with everybody.
That's fine. I just want to establish.
Oh, that
God,
explains
this is
a
becoming
lot.
a nightmare. My God. Thank you. So, you're saying of your own volition, you just happen to be well acquainted with the effects of incoherent dielectric acceleration, and therefore, as a substitution for gravity as a mass attracting mass force, you thought it was appropriate to debate it. Purely off your own volition, you'd studied this.
I'm just going off what Charles Proteus Steinmetz and Oliver Heaviside, Faraday, Tesla, Maxwell, a lot of these guys said, man. That's not my words.
And did any of them ever
He
reference it?
He came in though riding the incoherent dielectric acceleration. That was the trigger phrase that you said that you came in because of, right? Can I just ask, where do we experience or perceive this incoherent dielectric acceleration on Earth? Where do we see it?
That's the phenomena that you call gravity, or that scientists call gravity.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
We covered this
Okay,
earlier.
man.
I thought we came to a reasonable. Hello. I thought we came to a reasonable conclusion in this regard. No, gravity was described 106 years ago as mass attracting mass by way of Reverend John Michell, C.V. Boys, Cavendish. It was incorrectly labelled against his wishes as Newtonian gravity. Then Einstein, 106 years ago, superseded that concept of mass attracting mass, debunked by helium balloons and steam, with a conceptual medium called pseudo-Riemannian force space being bent by way of the uneven distribution of mass in that mathematical reification. Well, that is not incoherent dielectric acceleration as you've just claimed. That's the bit I want to know. Why are you associating it with? Maxwell didn't. Why are you?
Well, like I said, if you listen to people like Charles Proteus Steinmetz, that's the stuff he talked about.
So, I don't know that name. So Charles who? And he associates gravity with incoherent dielectric acceleration, does he?
Yeah, he's the guy that perfected our entire electrical grid that we use today. So you can thank him for being able to talk to
Not
me
quite
right now.
true. Not quite true.
Hold on, I just want him to tell me. And he's linked it to gravity, correct?
Yeah.
How so?
All right. Well, give me a minute. I'll see what I can post here for you.
Thank you very much.
This is new info to us, you see.
Right, I'm trying to get there. Like pulling teeth with everyone going, all right, and asking you questions.
Moaning, come on.
He's saying things if he doesn't even know them. He's got to look them up.
we've got somebody nice who's actually willing to give us the information we do not know and we are ignorant of, and he's willing to give it us. Let's just let him.
Yeah, we have to have the conversation and not shout him down.
Thank you, Dice Low.
Nathan as well.
Much obliged.
Nathan is well able
I
to get the
disconnect
information
the
without
method.
anyone's help.
Great.
Well, while we're waiting, I posted some pictures in Master B because one of the things he said is that we never observe straight lines in nature. Well, that was a red flag to me.
What about the horizon?
Well, go look at the pictures in Master B. How about a honeycomb with its straight hexagon or whatever it is, and leaves and trees that grow straight. All kinds of things in nature show straightness.
Of course they do. That goes without saying. The antenna, actually, in fact, of many insects, are actually known to be extremely straight.
Right,
I'm
but he
also
came on the
known
show saying in
for
nature there are
being
no straight lines.
extremely
I
straight.
think he said parallel, but I would say maybe a crystal lattice would demonstrate parallel lines in nature.
Very well said, Megan.
I
Actually,
almost said
do
that
agree
with
on that.
like salt, because it grows in like almost a cube shape, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, actually, what about snowflakes? So snowflakes themselves actually have or would I be wrong in that, in saying so? Snowflakes?
That said, while you could describe them in those geometric terms, in terms of how you actually
Yeah.
perceive them, you would never ever perceive them as parallel. It's impossible.
No, it's parallel. I mean
no.
straight.
That's it. Stop. That's your geometric description of it. You're telling me that you can see in that manner, with that geometry. You can't. You'll always see it in perspective view. So even if you see something that you can geometrically describe as parallel, it doesn't make it parallel when you look at it, does it?
No, I think that's the point he was making. The observer's lens will prevent you being able to actually experience it parallel. You'll interpret it as parallel because your brain reads the perspective and says, no, they are parallel. They're just going into the distance.
That's what I thought he
you
meant
don't
as well.
actually see.
Yeah, that's what I took his explanation to mean as well. I thought it was quite concise, actually.
I put Dice Low's
that-
citation into Master B.
Okay, let's bring them up. These two, they're like video clips.
Hold,
I know,
hold
okay.
on, there's more.
Yeah, I've got them.
No.
Astronomers...
Hold on, there's more.
Agree. Astronomers just discovered two
One sec.
stars orbiting each other faster than any we've seen. Are you telling me that they actually see this type of movement in the night sky? I find that hard to believe. With this, Adam, can you see this science alert picture?
Yeah, the one I pulled up earlier, the spinning stars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Am
I've
I
got it here.
correct in my assumption that this perceived motion we're seeing would be akin to either something they've simulated through assumption, or if this is perceivable in the actual night sky, it's going to be over a period of time that's not linear, it's not analog. You're not actually seeing this analog motion in any way, shape, or form. Stars don't move like this.
They're used to things on cosmic scales happening pretty slowly, but the white dwarf binary has an orbital period of just 6.9 minutes, the shortest ever detected for an eclipse in binary. So apparently they're rotating.
6.9 minutes. So they're saying they do see this throughout. You can see this actually occurring, spinning around each other like this. I find that hard to
not
believe.
making that exact categorical. They're stating what I think their assumptions are from data, because I don't think this is a observed, optically observed phenomenon. I think this is the radio telescope stuff, or because if you go further down, look, they're talking about being able to detect things in 2034, even more with space antennas, interferometer space antennas. So I would imagine it's radio telescope data that they're seeing, and then that's interpreted as these two things orbiting like that, but they appear to be rotating at 6.9, but there's no clarity on. I mean, look, this is the image we're given, so we're not. Look, I mean, so you can imagine the reality of the data is probably worse than Tony's lighthouse of the Isle of Man.
Right.
It's a nice cartoon.
Indeed, it's a nice cartoon. Where do we observe this happening? That is, I mean, I've spent plenty of time in front of a telescope. That is not something
In the
I see.
calculation.
It seems to me that this is more theoretical than anything else based on a belief. That's what this is. Because if it was real, we'd be able to see it.
Well, we need to see what they've actually seen. Is it radio telescope data? Is it in a non-perceivable field of our spectrum that we couldn't actually perceive, and it's have to color correct it and make assumptions about what it's done? Or what are we actually seeing? That's what we need to know. And based on this article, it's a bit vague about what we're actually seeing.
Well, where is this supposed to be seen anywhere? In the vacuum of space?
Yeah, that's what they're going to claim
I
it is.
posted another link, Quantum.
Yeah, I got you. If you go to Master B, Nathan, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 citation.
Okay, I'll put them up directly from your quotes. So I've got your. Hold on, just 1 second, Adam. I've got what you've quoted. So there's the link to astronomers just discovered 2 stars orbiting each other, and then we've got many textbooks speak of the etc. etc.
Yep.
Okay, I've got them on screen.
Would you want me to read those out loud?
Unless Die Slow wants to read them, would you prefer QE read them?
Yeah, QE is way better than I am.
Okay, we'll go with the first one from C.P. Steinmetz, Electric Discharges, Waves, and Impulses. Many textbooks speak of the electric charges on the conductor and the energy stored by them without considering that the dielectric energy is not on the surface of the conductor, but in the space outside the conductor, just as also is the magnetic field. That's the first citation. Second citation from C.P. Steinmetz, same reference. In electric circuits containing energy stored in the magnetic and in the dielectric field, the change in the amount of stored energy occurs by a series of changes from magnetic to electric and back again from dielectric to magnetic stored energy. Last citation, same reference. The magnetic and the dielectric field of the conductor are both included in the term electric field and are the 2 components of the electric field. That's the end of the third citation. Fourth citation. Dr. Oleg Jefimenico, Causality, Electromagnetic Induction, and Gravitation. A time variable electric current creates an electric field parallel to that current. The field exerts an electric force on the charge in the nearby conductors, thereby creating induced electric currents in them. This in the term electromagnetic induction is actually a misnomer, since no magnetic effect is involved in the phenomena, and since the induced current is caused solely by the time variable electric current and by the electric field produced by that current. End of citation.
Okay, but these citations were supposed to be how this associates with gravity, though. Got no issue with any of that.
Yeah, man. Pseudoscience will try to pigeonhole everything. You know, they want electricity over here, light over here, gravity over here. That's just not how nature works, man. There's only essentially one law that nature follows, and that's field pressure mediation.
No. Stop.
So when you want to talk about gravity, go ahead.
I can't remember who you said now. Christopher something directly linked it to gravity, and then you were like, okay, I'll go and get a citation, because that's where we come in, because there's an assertion from flat earthers that this is a replacement, and the replacement is in regards to a downward acceleration bias. Well, that's described as gravity 106 years ago, but we yet to see a citation, so I'm still unclear about how you've drawn this conclusion, given that you're alluding to it being completely independent. You've just come to this yourself, and then you're like, well, no, these are the people, and you listed them off. One of them I'd heard of, the rest I hadn't. So other than Maxwell, I'm like, well, what do you mean gravity? Where's that come in? It doesn't. And you're like, well, this other dude, Christopher something or other, he said it linked to gravity. I'll get a citation. But they're not. They're not linking it to gravity. So I'm still with the same question. Where have you got this idea from?
All right, so you want the link to gravity now from what I've just given you, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. When I call gravity a dielectric mutual mass acceleration, you need to understand what the dielectric field is to begin with, because the current connotation of dielectric is far from the denotative original understanding of dielectric, and I think that's where the misnomer's coming in.
We need to understand what gravity is first if you're going to replace one with the other.
You got to understand what the dielectric field is.
Understanding it, I could understand it more, and the more I discuss it, the more I seem to do understand it. And while it is fascinating, it's not being linked back to either downward acceleration 9.8 meters per second or bending space-time at any stage.
So, again, when I talk about gravity, it's no different than electrostatic cling.
So you're just claiming
So when
it.
you want to...
Yeah, we know you're claiming that. Hello. You don't need to... You're starting to sound like one of the fundies who defends the globe. You don't need to chant your claim at us. We know you're claiming that. We're trying to ascertain why you're claiming that and where you've got it from.
All right, so let me give you another connecting piece of fabric.
Excellent.
Oh my. Am I just being extremely like... Am I being a prick?
I already know, crack. Trust.
No, chocolate. Am I being a prick? Because like, we don't need another piece of fabric to explain your already shoddy piece of fucking furniture.
No need. This is a prevalent view, and it's punted plenty. So, let's just do it. What's the harm?
Well, I just would have liked him to have started from a less faulty position to begin with. That was all. I think you guys understand what I mean, anyway.
I'm with you, crack.
The Emperor's clothes are woven from the fabric of space-time.
Indeed.
Yep, and the universe is flat, and balls exist, but they don't.
I'm mainly interested in how does this cause an upward and downward and sometimes even sideways vector for matter. That's what I'm interested in.
There's no link being given so far, Brian. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I
remember I said when Ether came to visit us, when it's always, well, they say gravity is this, I think gravity is that, and I'm stuck saying I'm not trying to get stuck in this situation where I have to set one or the other. First, tell me what it is you're referring to and how it relates to reality.
Yep.
I don't think that's, I don't think that's a harsh position. I just want to know what it is that I'm being told is happening while I'm existing here in reality.
I still don't know the purpose. I don't understand the point of the assertion in regards to incoherent dielectric acceleration more than if I was to explain the forces that occur when an explosion goes off. How useful that would be.
Isn't this kind of similar to how now they got the bending of space-time because mass doesn't attract mass? So now that the bending of space-time's been out for 106 years and that's falling apart, something else has to take its place?
Well, can you guys also see how this could take place of gravity? And obviously I know you guys can see that, but in the sense of actually this sort of three-dimensional, the moon is held up by gravity. Also, the sun itself is held up in this position and holds the rest of the solar system in place. Because we can see where this can go, right? This could go anywhere.
Well, that's orbit.
Or should I say it could go exactly to where it currently is?
Well, it's already gone there. Don't know why, we are not finding out, but we might get there eventually. But the guy's already said orbits, and then said, no, not orbits. So, we're halfway there already. Because what you've just described in pseudo 4 space translated into 3 space is orbits. And I'm sure Brian will tell you that's what they're explaining when they're using this geometry. And it sounds like, wouldn't you know, it seems a bit strange that we have now got a parallel where this same assertion's made with a slightly different tangent and name that wants to be called gravity but is actually incoherent dielectric acceleration, asserted as a downward vector in terms of a bias we experience when we don't experience it. But why the connection is there, we're not finding that out.
This is quite a dangerous move by them, because what they're doing here, I believe this is a co-opt in a way, because it's like, well, okay, we'll put in incoherent this incoherent dielectric thing interjected. Now we have a vector for down, right? It can be asserted now and interchanged for gravity. And what they'll do is they'll say, well, we have experimentation using electromagnetism and electrostatics. And then they can maybe swing some of the flat earthers toward themselves in order that they actually argue for the globies. Oh, great.
Who are they?
Not they, but they will take it upon their own backs, much like the individual doing that. So
not they, but they will take it
cool.
on. So
you mean flat earthers getting caught up in just so stories? Yeah.
No.
What else?
Yes.
We're all people.
That's what I mean.
Okay, well, we've got a guy here who is that they, and if you're saying they is not they, but they are, and then I don't know who they are. So when I ask this guy, where have you got this from?
Okay.
I'm asking who they are. You're saying it's him.
All right, they currently is Dyslow. He, not they. Pronouns wrong. I'm sorry.
It seems to me that what's going on with the whole dielectric, incoherent dielectric acceleration, or the whole just basic dielectric argument, is they're trying to fill in an explanation for old force of gravity and new effect of gravity. It's like, to me, so far, I could be wrong, but they're trying to fill in all of this with this thing, when all of that was not real.
Well, it seems like I haven't heard him argue for a downward bias. I think what he's thinking and what he's trying to do is provide the evidence that already suggests it, which would make it probably more tenable, but he hasn't done that, as that's what Nathan's asked him to do, pretty much.
Seems like he's taking forever for the citation.
Well, he has sort of spoken on a bias toward masses being attracted toward masses, and that they would orbit one another, though.
Correct.
It should be redefined in math attracting math. Much more viable.
Nathan, what time is it in jolly old England?
10 to 4. 15:50.
Thank you.
My God, I thought it was 6 o'clock.
I've just done a bit of reading, Nathan, in terms of the star claim, so the assumption is that it's two stars rotating around each other, and I think the supporting point is they're going to replace incoherent dielectric magnetism with gravity as the causation for the slow attraction. And this slow attraction is described as a rate of 26 centimeters a day, meaning for us to see this prediction and to test all the mathematics that they'll then build with incoherent is going to take 130,000 years until the orbital goes down from the 6 minutes to the 5 minutes. So it's just
Is that so?
What?
And as they do say, that would be amazingly cool if humans are still around to see it. So yeah, it's just
so we don't see it. Yeah, shocker. So we're explaining an effect that's assumed to occur over a vast period that we can't experience, so we can ascribe incoherent dielectric acceleration to it instead of pseudo-4 space bending.
Yeah.
Like I said,
oh my God.
they're looking to fill in the holes for pseudo-4 space.
Yeah, who's punting this? Who's trying to prop up the current paradigm with this shit?
Do you want to know what I think it is? I think a lot of this is mixed in with the toroidal field, something that we can measure, obviously, that being the electromagnetic field of the Earth itself, right? Magnetic field of the Earth, with the sort of want to explain why there's a bias toward down. People always seem to forget that this direction of down was objective before the ball. Gravity was created to explain the objective direction of down all the way across the face of a spherical ball, not the other way around.
Objective
And it
direction
sounds
of down.
cool.
No, hold on, Anthony. He's correct. In the paradigm of heliocentrism,
Yeah, only in the paradigm of heliocentrism am I correct when I say that. Yes, you're right.
I'm just going to ask for clarification.
good, because yes, you've got to clarify when you're saying there's an objective down. No, there isn't. It's subjective.
No, there's they're subjective. Yeah, no, I was saying that for them to create any form of down, well, obviously, what came first, gravity or the ball, right? Obviously, the ball came first. Gravity was the thing that would explain how they can have a down anywhere across the face of a spherical ball. None of them can be an objective direction of down.
The bit that doesn't make sense to me is you've got mass attracting mass after your bit of the story, so I'm just following on from where you've left off. Then you have bending force space, Einsteinian gravity, and then you have flat earthers with the solution to that problem when we debunk it. What the fuck?
Don't.
Yeah, they're trying to fill it all in. They're trying to fill in something that doesn't exist. All of that never existed.
Instead of just accepting reality, huh?
The common denominator in all of this, like I don't care how it's described, what words are used, but it's always saying, you know, they think gravity is this, when really what we do experience as gravity has actually been hijacked by this. There's many variations of how they try to describe this, but it all boils down to the same thing. What do you talk about
exactly
when you say the experience of gravity?
But who needs gravity? Right? With the exception of the assertion from the Flat Earth Society controlled narrative that a pizza pie is flying up at 9.8 meters per second. Who needs this? We don't need it as flat earthers. What the hell do we need it for? We don't.
But like, when did? Do you know what really winds me up is when Globers come and speak to me, and they still need the reason as to why things go down. And then I say, okay, let's say relative density, for instance, and they say, yeah, but why down? And I'm just like, no, like down was only called into question once you turn it into a bloody globe.
But it's an assumption you're trying to defend when it's an assumption that doesn't exist. Well, why down?
Exactly.
Well, watch this steam go up. What about those clouds in the sky? Did they go down, go boom, boom? No, they didn't. We haven't got a downward bias. Not everything goes down. Only the stuff that's going down goes down. The other stuff goes up.
I'm not.
I must remember to say that now when people talk about this bias of down, to talk about all the things that bloody go up.
Yeah, like the steam.
My egg.
Yeah, and Anthony's egg.
Please mention the little egg that could.
He never mentioned it, does he?
What about Anthony's egg?
What egg? I don't know what you're talking about. It never gets mentioned.
What about my balloon?
What
how
about
gas goes in all
my-
directions.
Forget it.
Yeah, gas expands in all directions. Exactly. Not just down, go boom, boom.
I mean, let's not forget about in the hydrological cycle, the sun is evaporating the surface water over all of the oceans and seas and puddles, and that in itself is releasing gas in the form of water vapor, and that obviously doesn't sit pooled on the surface. It rises up, it condenses, it falls back down in rain, and it's cyclical, right? Why does nobody ever ask why up? Why does the vapor go up? No one ever asks that, but it does it.
Yeah, or more accurately, to debunk their argument, why isn't the gas going down, go boom, boom, with a 9.8 meters per second bias? Well, because it just isn't. It's going up. There is no bloody bias. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.